You're listening to Cinema IRL, the podcast that throws you into the movie and asks the question, what would you do? In Sight, one man has the vision to, give other people vision. Amber and Scott discuss what they would do on the road to being able to see again. And now, Cinema IRL.
I wish I could switch places for just one day.
You find yourself in the unique position.
What would you do?
Put yourself in my shoes.
How do we handle this?
What would you do?
What would you do?
How do you want to handle this?
What would you do?
Put yourself in my position.
What would you do?
Now it's your turn.
Alrighty, so this week our film is Sight. Sight follows the inspiring true story of Ming Wang, an impoverished Chinese prodigy who flees communist China to become a pioneering eye surgeon in America. When tasked with restoring the sight of an orphan who was blinded by her stepmother, he must confront the trauma of living through the violent uprising in his youth, the Cultural Revolution. What do you think of this film?
The film was fine. For me, it was one of those fairly standard, quote, inspiring true stories.
Yeah, it's definitely along the lines of those films that are coming out from Angel, where at the end they have the barcode to share the experience with someone else by donating a ticket.
Yeah, and I know that if you scanned it, could see some deleted scenes. So you, as the moviegoer, could see things when you couldn't see before.
Yes.
God, that was
yes. So, I think that synopsis kind of gives us a good frame to work from here. So, obviously, Ming had a very difficult childhood, but had his eyes on the prize. Oh, pun intended. No pun intended. I don't know. Eyes on the prize the entire time to realize his dream of becoming a doctor, despite along the ways, not only the issues that were happening during his youth in China, but also when he came to America, went to MIT and was discouraged saying, you're not going to have any success. Americans, can't get into medical school. They're certainly not going to let in a Chinese kid. So, those obstacles along the way, but yet he still persevered and went on to develop an amazing technology that has restored the sight of so many people. Yeah.
And by the way, first of all, I have to go back to your eyes on the prize thing and give it I forgot that I have sound effects sometimes.
Oh gosh, yes. This podcast will never be the same.
Never.
All right. So as usual, a reminder to our listeners, we are not a movie review show. We look at what would you do if you were in the position of the main characters or any character whatsoever with dealing with the situation of this film. And, there's so many opportunities for discussion in this film. One thing that I have to say, really, one of the pieces of dialogue from the film that Ming's mother said to him, which really resonated with me, was, "Life is not a straight line." And that was really... I love that because it's so true. And then also too, a phrase that came out twice is the present is decided by your past. And, I think you and I have even talked about that of we couldn't be where we are today if we hadn't gone through what we had in the past.
Oh, yeah. And if there's anyone who knows all about that life sometimes isn't a straight line, or at least the path to success is not a straight line, it's me. I know plenty about that. Oh. Yeah,
so it's, we could certainly look at what it's like to overcome adversity. We could look at it as, what would I do if I had the opportunity to restore people's sight? And I have to say, I'd do it. That's what I would do. I would restore people's sight if I had the opportunity.
Well, yeah. You, me, and Mr. Beast.
Well, I guess we're done with our film. What would you do? I'd also save people and restore their eyesight.
Yeah, no. I might have less of a pro bono section. I might want to do it for pay.
Yeah. He was an amazing person, and at the end of the film, of course, they caught us up on the real people and showed us photos and updates and whatnot, and obviously doing remarkable work. It's hard to, I think the angle I'm going to take here for what would you do is how Ming was haunted by his past, not necessarily what he himself had endured, but his childhood sweetheart Li, who was taken away in the uprising and he never saw again, and how Lily haunted him throughout his adult life.
Yeah, because how long was it from the time that he said, quote, "I will always protect you," till the time that she was gone? It was pretty.
It was like 10 minutes,
I don't even think it was 10 minutes.
10 movie minutes. So yeah, it was probably longer.
I mean, no, it was probably 10 real minutes. It was like one movie minute. It was like, "I will always protect you." Next scene, up, we're taking her. Yeah, I mean, maybe he deserved to be haunted. I don't know.
Oh, wow.
Okay, that was rude.
No, it's an interesting topic because how many times are we haunted by the past? And he had actually said a word that resonates me from, some of my Tony Robbins work is he was talking about being stuck in his suffering and, reliving the trauma of Lily being taken away and where was she? And she was never found. So that's why he had that lingering issue. You're looking at your notes.
I am looking at my notes because I don't normally take notes during the movie, but I took notes a couple of times because there were instances where I felt like if you took it in like a microcosm that you could look at, like you don't necessarily have to be a world-renowned eye surgeon. One of which was a point when in the movie, the other doctor, I don't remember his name. Misha?
Yeah.
Was trying to get him basically out of the office for a little bit. Hey,
yes,
we need to go out and do something. And he's like, "No, I have to work. And this is something that I preach. I mean, I preach this all the time, that you need to have your batteries full for them to operate properly. And many times you can get something done quicker by completely stopping what you're doing, do something completely different, which recharges your batteries. And then when you come back, you're so much more efficient. Because if it's kind of like a toy that, if you're running some like old toy and the batteries are running low, you'll see it like it's almost like the Energizer Bunny. Like it'll start clapping slower.
Oh,
and
yeah,
you can pull the batteries, maybe switch their places and put it back in. It might give it a little bit of juice, but it's still really slow.
Right.
And no matter how much you do with those batteries, you're never really going to get it fully going again until you actually get a chance to recharge them. And yes, I get it. You can't play with the toy at all while you're recharging it. But once you recharge it, it's much better. And I feel like in that situation where he was like, "No, I've got to plow through," it was clear he was spent.
And for context, it wasn't just that he was a workaholic in general. It was that he wanted to save this little girl's eyesight because her stepmom intentionally blinded her with sulfuric acid because legitimately blind beggars make more money in the streets of Calcutta than anyone else. And so, he was so driven to want to help this little girl, this 6-year-old little girl who had been intentionally blinded. So I understand the intensity of like, I've got to figure this out. But to your point, I'm sure he was like that most of the time.
Oh yeah. I mean, the scenes with his parents and everything, you'd be like, "I have one son that doesn't work at all and one son that works too much."
Yeah.
And if you're that personality type, you are going to be an overachiever, overworker. And it's probably a lot of what got him to where he was. But there is, like, no matter who you are human. You eventually will run out. There's nobody who wouldn't run out eventually. You just have to practice self-care. And by practicing self-care, it lets you be more functional in the long run. And that's the thing. People often look at the short run. They're like, "I've got to get this done now." Okay, that's great. But look at what you can get done in a week or in a month. If you say took a weekend and was like, "I'm not going to touch anything." I mean, that's why honestly with the job I do now, I used to be self-employed and I'd work 7 days a week. I mean, like I used to joke that when I had my game store, there wasn't a day that went by 365 days a year that I didn't work in some form or fashion. I enjoy the fact that the stock market is closed on Saturdays and Sundays.
Yeah.
I don't do anything. And I use that to recharge my batteries.
Right.
To get back so that when Monday comes around, I'm good to go again.
Yeah.
Because when Friday comes around,
You're spent.
I'm spent.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny. You mentioned the word self-care, and probably 8 years ago or so, I didn't have a positive association with the word self-care. It's because I had a colleague who use self-care as an umbrella term for enabling, in my opinion, and just enabling people's laziness and enabling people's bad behavior. And I didn't like it. And that was my first introduction to someone who was really big from a leadership position, advocating for self-care. And I thought she was creating an environment of people who phoned it in, who didn't meet deadlines. And I had a negative association when I saw it applied that way, because it wasn't a like, hey, let's look at how we're prioritizing our life, or let's make sure that you have opportunities to recharge your batteries, as you're talking about. It was just, it created a culture of apathy and subpar work, in my opinion. So, but over time, I think I've, especially in the last year, redefined my association with self-care. I'm still not a fan of the term, but I think we have to look out for our own physical and mental well-being, because it is so intertwined. And if we're stressed out, that has a physical manifestation. So if you are a doctor running an eye institute that can literally change people's lives by restoring their eyesight, I mean, I understand the drive, but you're absolutely right. You got to take some time out.
Yeah, and this, I think, further got shown in the scene when he had failed at the surgery.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that had something to do with it. Is that...
Spoiler, she stays blind.
Yeah. And then he went home and he just swept his desk with one fell swoop, throwing things everywhere, including his beloved musical instrument, which he broke.
Yeah.
And that's it. His emotions had gotten the better of him.
Yeah.
And now he's done something. I mean, there's two kinds of people out there. There's people who have done something emotionally and regretted it later, or people who admit they've done something emotionally regret it later, and liars. So I think everyone's done it at some point where they've done something out of emotion and something.
Oh yeah, we all.
And it makes it worse.
Yeah.
They've done. I mean, he broke something. He's like, he just made the whole thing worse.
It could be anger or fear or any number of emotions that drive us to that, for sure.
You've got to recognize when you're going down that path and figure out how do I stop myself from getting to this point? Because once you get to that point, it's just destructive.
Hard. It's so hard. I mean, I've been in that position, and it's hard. I think that's one of those things from my viewpoint, that you have to go through something like that once, and then the next time you recognize what you went through the first time. I don't know if most people have the clarity and self-awareness to call themselves on that the first time, because I've been in similar situations. I'm like, I don't have time. I can't take time out to rest. I got to go. And it's really hard unless you see the catastrophic end result of that. And then the next time you're like, okay, I know better now.
Oh, and I definitely have. I've caused that catastrophic result several times in my life. And thus, I'm actually getting very good at recognizing myself. I'm like, I'm on the precipice here. I have to go down now, because if I don't, it's going to be a problem. And then again, I feel like this even further manifested itself when he went into the whole failure isolation.
Oh, where he kind of ghosted the girl he was dating.
Well, he shut out everyone. He shut out his family. He shut out the girl he was dating.
Yes, he did.
He shut out his partner. He shut out everyone.
That's true.
And needless to say, that's not healthy, because when you start shutting out your support system, even the best support system can leave you if you completely abandon them. You and I have had other conversations about things like this in the past, like how much are you willing to take? How much abandonment are you willing to take? How much abuse are you willing to take from someone when you're supporting them? In this case, it wasn't abuse, but it was abandonment.
Yeah, we talked about this when we were discussing the Fall Guy and the situation there. Yeah, it's hard, because sometimes you don't want to be comforted or someone to say, "Oh, you did the best you could. You tried." Because
No, I can't.
The placating sometimes is just makes you want to go into that cave to just be with yourself.
Yeah, I need people around me who know not to placate me.
Yeah.
People who know that, hey, listen, maybe I just don't need to talk about this. Or, I mean, every situation is going to be a little different and unique. But yeah, like maybe this is not, there's plenty of editing. I promise you the long episodes. She's giving me the wind it up thing, but trust me, I've seen what happens in editing on these things.
Yeah. So final thoughts on site, not on site, but on site.
Yeah. I mean, okay, movie, but yeah, otherwise, I mean, there wasn't a lot of what would you do's.
There were so many.
But not things I felt like were greatly, like for me, it's just take better self-care and know when to shut your mouth.
And yet I've been telling you to rap, and yet you're just saying the takeaway is know when to shut your mouth. Okay, so on that note, I think I'm going to know when to shut my mouth. And
I clearly don't, but we're going to end here anyway.
We hope you enjoyed our episode. Thank you for listening. And to catch all the new episodes, please subscribe. We release 2 to 3 episodes weekly, so we'll have new content regularly. Until next time.